Hey, Mr. Lichty here. We're going to move on to Chapter 4, Section 5, solving two-step equations. So thus far we've only solved one-step equations. Okay, so the steps for solving, these are the steps for solving all equations, which we haven't written down yet. So let's take a second to write these down. First step. Okay, the first step is we always have to simplify both sides of the equation. Make sure we've simplified the left side and we simplify the right side. After it's simplified, then we can start solving, and we start by isolating the variable term. I'll explain that in just a second. So after you get the variable term by itself, you isolate it, then you isolate the variable. In other words, get the variable by itself. And the fourth step is we always check our answers. So let's apply these steps to our first example. 5 times n minus 9 equals 71. So to solve this, first I go through my steps. Step 1, simplify both sides. Well, luckily on this problem, the left side is as simple as we can make it. There are no more like terms. And the right side, obviously, is also simplified. So step 1, check, we're done. Next step, isolate the variable term. That's just the term that has the variable. So that means get this thing by itself. Well, why is this thing not by itself? It's not by itself because there's a minus 9 with it. So let's get rid of minus 9. What's the inverse of minus 9? Plus 9. If I add 9 to that side, it will get rid of minus 9. But the golden rule says I need to do it to both sides. So if I simplify the left side, those canceled out because they are inverse operations, and I'm left with 5 times n equals 80. Now I'm almost done. Now, third step, I need to isolate the variable, get the variable by itself. The reason it's not by itself is because it's being multiplied by 5. The inverse operation of times 5 is divide by 5. I need to follow the golden rule and do it to both sides. 5 divided by 5 is 1n. 1n equals 16. Let's give it a quick double check. 5 times 16 minus 9, is it equal to 71? Well, that would be 80 minus 9. Is that equal to 71? It is. So I know what's right. Alright, next example. Alright, so first step, getting ahead of myself here. First step is we need to isolate the variable term. Well, the variable term is right there. The reason it's not by itself right now is because there is a plus 3 attached to it. So I need to subtract 3. I need to do that to both sides. They cancel out. I'm left with 1/2 x equals 6. Now the third step, I need to isolate the variable. Well, divide by half. Half divided by half is 1x, and 6 divided by half is the same as 6 times 2 over 1, or 2. So x equals 12. I'm going to double check it. 1/2 times 12 plus 3, is that equal to 9? Well, 1/2 times 12 is 6, plus 3, is that equal to 9? Of course it is. We know we're correct. Next example. Okay, first step, check to see if it's simplified. Both sides are simplified, so I can move on to step 2. Isolate the variable term. Well, the variable term on this one, tricky, is negative 6x. So there's a positive 12 over here. Remember, we got to look at the sign in front of the number, and there's no sign there, so it's positive 12. So to get rid of positive 12, we need to subtract 12. I need to do the exact same thing to both sides. 12 minus 12 is 0. So on the right side, I'm left with negative 6x. Don't forget to bring the negative sign down. It equals 32 minus 12, 20. Now I have the variable term by itself. So my next step, I need to divide both sides by negative 6. That will cancel and make 1x. And I'm going to reduce reduce this fraction and change it into a mixed number. It equals negative 3 2/3. Okay, we can plug it in to check. I would just use a calculator. So in my calculator, I'm going to do negative 6 times negative 3 2/3. Then I'm going to add 12. Hit enter, and boom, that equals 32. So I know it's right. Moving on. Okay, last example. This one's a little different, but just copy it down. We'll work through it. So first I check, are both sides simplified? Yes, they are. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line. I need to isolate the variable term, which is this whole thing. The reason it's not by itself on the left side is because there's a minus 10. To get rid of minus 10, the inverse operation is plus 10. Need to follow the golden rule and do it to both sides. Inverse operations cancel, so on the left side I'm left with 3y over 2. On the right side I have 15. Now I'm going to do this next one in 2 steps. First, I'm going to get rid of divide 2. Inverse operation is times 2. I'm going to do that to both sides, following the golden rule. This side, the 2's cancel. I'm left with 3y equals 30. Now, I just have the third step. I need to divide both sides by 3. Those cancel. I'm left with 1y equals 10. Okay, easy to plug in. 3 times 10 is 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15. 15 minus 10 is 5. Double check that one. It is correct. Alright. On your own, I want you to do these examples. I will give you a minute to copy these down and work through them on your own. Okay, now that you've had a chance to try all 4 of them on your own, I'm going to work through them. I'm going to go a little fast, so you may need to push pause. First one, it's already simplified. Subtract 8. 3x equals negative 36. Negative 28 minus 8. Divide both sides by 3. X equals negative 12. I double check it in my head. 3 times negative 12 plus 8. It's good. I know it's right. Like I said, if you need to push pause, you can easily do that. I'm going a little fast through these examples, so check your work and make any corrections as necessary. First thing, I want to add 7 to both sides. I'm left with negative 8d equals 20. Now I want to divide both sides by negative 8. So I have d equals, I'm going to change that to a mixed and, simplify, negative 2.5. I plug it in quick. Negative 8 times negative 2.5 is 20. 20 minus 7 is 13. Good. I know it's right. Alright, problem 3. It's already simplified. So put my line. First I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Those cancel. I'm left with 3 times p divided by 2 equals 6. To get rid of the divide 2, I times by 2. Cancels. Got to do the same thing to both sides following the golden rule. 3p equals 12. Now I can just divide both sides by 3. Done. Quick check in my head. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. Good. I know it's right. And last example. It's already simplified. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to subtract 10. Both sides. 10 minus 10, 0. I'm left with negative 2x over here. 15 minus 10 is 5. Okay. Now, last step, I want to divide both sides by negative 2. And negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1x. And my answer, I'm just going to change it to a mixed. It's negative 2.5. Quick double check. Yep. It turns out to be equal, so it's right. Again, the point is not to get these done fast, guys. It's to get them done correctly. So check your work and go back and fix the on your own problems if you made a mistake. All right, nice job.